Hi, I'm JK from meganandjk.com, the place to be if you want to raise a family and build a business from home. Today we're going to talk about networking for introverts. When Megan and I first started our business, we built our website, sent out like 5 emails, and then assumed business would come. And then it didn't. Because it turns out you can't take a marketing strategy from a 20-year-old baseball movie.
If you build it, he will come.
So naturally, we asked advice, and the next thing people said to do was start networking. But as an introvert, that sounds like the worst thing ever, talking to people I don't know. So what do you do to make it not stink, not be horrible? The first step in rocking networking events as an introvert is to define what success looks like. This sounds very simple and elementary, but if we haven't defined success, how can we know if we've succeeded or not? No matter what we do, we're probably going to leave the event feeling tired and burned out just because that's the nature of being an introvert. It kind of reminds me of when I was running cross country in high school. No matter what, if I ran a really fast 5K or a mediocre 5K, I still was going to be pretty tired at the end of the race. So I can't judge my success or failure based on how I'm feeling. There has to be an external measurement. In the case of running a race, it's the clock. In the case of networking for introverts, it's got to be something else we define. When I first started out, success was merely showing up and talking to 1 or 2 people. For me, that was enough to push me out of my comfort zone. As time has gone on, my definition of success has changed a little bit. Now, it's only making 1 or 2 good connections of people who will take about a half hour of their time to sit down and chat with me over coffee about what they do, what their business does, and what they're looking for. Secondly, one of our introvert superpowers is the ability to work alone. And in this case, we're going to use that for preparation in what I call the Peyton Manning strategy. Omaha! When Peyton retired at his press conference, he said there were always players who were more talented, but he knew there was never anyone who could out-prepare him. Pressure is what you feel when you don't know what's going on. So he used that to plan for every possible scenario on the football field and know where every player was at all times, so he never felt pressure. We're going to use the same strategy to conquer networking events. So what's that look like for us? We can't, memorize where everyone's going to be at all times and no one's going to come tackle you, luckily, hopefully. What we can do is practice and memorize questions to ask other people to get the conversation rolling. We'll also memorize questions to ask just in case there's a lull in the conversation, so there's no awkward pauses. I've included a bunch of the sample questions that I use in the description below. A side note, we're going to go with questions here. We're not going to memorize a 30 to 60 second elevator speech because no one talks like that. A lot of times you'll be told to memorize an elevator speech that sounds really weird and convoluted and manufactured and forced. There are several benefits to this approach. Firstly, asking questions to other people allows them to talk about themselves, and everyone likes talking about themselves. It's easy to do. Secondly, it goes back to some sales training I took several years ago. They said whoever is asking the questions is the one who's in charge of the conversation, not necessarily the one who is answering all the questions or talking the most. It's sort of like a Jedi mind trick there.
You want to buy some death sticks?
You don't want to sell me death sticks.
I don't want to sell you death sticks.
You want to go home and rethink your life.
I want to go home and rethink my life.
As an introvert, there's an appeal to knowing that you're in control of the conversation. Back to rehearsing and memorizing. I'll rehearse and memorize a bunch of questions to ask people, and also my answers to the same questions, because most of the time people will respond with, "And what about you?" I've also included my answers below. Strategy number 3 is to look for the other introverts in the room. I guarantee you're not the only one there. There's probably someone off in the fringe of the room, playing around on their phone, checking their email. So do yourself and them a favor and go talk to them. Finally, before you walk into these networking events, here are 2 mindsets to keep in mind. First, you're not there to sell. This will set you apart from 95% of the people there. Most people get this wrong. Sure, if you run into someone who needs your service, by all means, go talk to them. But don't necessarily go hunting for them like a jaguar looking for a wild boar, assuming that's what they eat. What you're really looking for is just a couple connections of people that are willing to get to know you, and you can get to know them. It's a lot easier and more manageable to make 1 or 2 good connections than it is to try to sell to 100 people in the room. Mindset number 2 is that true networking success happens outside the event. In addition to the preparation, networking success happens on the follow-up. Once you meet a couple cool people and get their business card, a couple days later, reach out to them, probably via email, and say, "Hey, thanks for chatting with me. I'd love to get to know a little bit more about you and your business. Would you mind taking 15 to 20 minutes to chat with me over coffee? And make sure you pay for the coffee. For introverts like myself, once again, this is much easier connecting one-on-one with a couple different people than it is trying to meet 100 people in the room in the span of a half an hour. With these tips in mind, I know you can make the most out of all your networking events. If you like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Then head on over to meganandjk.com. We have tons of free resources, including 2 free courses, one on how to get over your fear of starting a business and get your spouse on board, and the other on how to maintain your sense of self-insanity as a stay-at-home parent. Now I want to hear from you. What's your biggest struggle in networking events? Make sure to leave a comment below. We read every one of them. Thanks for joining me, and I look forward to hearing about your success.